Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Today I'm going to discuss with you all yellow fever. It's making its way back in the news because now there are an increased number of cases that are popping up in Brazil. Brazil seems to be getting everything lately. Zika, yellow fever, what's next? I don't know if I want to know the answer to that question. I want to talk with you about yellow fever, why it has been a threat in the past here in the United States and why it could come back, especially in the case of a grid down. So yellow fever, the flag that you typically see on the high seas nowadays that has the little squares of yellow and black, it typically, when you see it, means a ship under quarantine, but it was first used for yellow fever. Yellow fever first came around, I believe the first documented case is, or epidemic is in 1647 on the Isle of Barbados. The Isle of Barbados. The incubation period for this bad boy is about 3 to 6 days, but when it comes right down to it, this is a virus that is spread via mosquito bite. Okay, so this is a vector-borne disease. And any place that the particular variant of mosquito lives, it can spread this particular disease. Okay, most people who are infected with yellow fever, or excuse me, who are infected with the virus and then who contract yellow fever are going to experience mild symptoms. Okay, so we're not talking like massive swaths of humanity dying off here. However, about 15% of the people who do develop yellow fever, it is a severe form that involves a lot of different nasty things. Jaundice, of course, and jaundice is the yellow skin. Okay, that's how yellow fever got its name, because you have hepatic involvement or liver involvement. Okay, those 15% of people who get the nasty variety of it tend to have some nasty signs and symptoms here. High fever, organ shock or failure, jaundice, of course, which is indicating that the liver is compromised, and also GI bleeding. Okay, and this is where you start seeing the black vomit come into the mix here. It's the yellow and the black on the little flag for yellow fever. The yellow, of course, referring to the jaundice, which is a French term, the yellowing of the patient's skin. Now, here's the interesting thing, okay, lest we forget here that in the United States, in the 17 and 1800s, we had major cities that had yellow fever epidemics, including Philadelphia and also New Orleans. In fact, I think it was 1853, New Orleans was experiencing such a terrible yellow fever pandemic, they had more bodies than they had people to bury them. So your original issue of, oh gosh, we've got all these bodies in the street, and for those of you who've ever been down to South Louisiana, you know that burying people is a challenge down there. Like, they bury people vertically in the vaults in many cases because it's so difficult to try and get the area that will hold people instead of sending bodies floating whenever the water rises. The interesting thing about those 15% of people that have the nastier form of yellow fever is that they'll have the first few days, which looks very similar to folks who are kicking this disease, who have the milder form. You know, they'll have this progression where everything looks peachy, they look like the body is getting better, and then bam, it hits them really, really hard. Fever, black vomit, abdominal pain, kidney failure, nosebleeds, internal bleeding, bleeding from the eyes or the gums. Yikes, not fun. Now here's the interesting thing. You get this sign that shows up that's called Faget's sign, F-A-G-E-T, Faget, a Faget sign. And what this means is that instead of their heart rate going up with a fever, it actually goes down, which is the exact opposite of what you'd expect. Normally, when you've got things like a nasty fever cooking in somebody, heart rate goes up, respirations go up, temperature goes up. These things go together, right? But whenever you see that heart rate go down, that's Faget's sign. When you've got a fever, a spike in a fever, and the heart rate go down, Faget's sign. And this is an interesting point to help differentiate yellow fever from other types of fevers that potentially could be going around, God forbid, at the time. One of the mistakes that people make, which ends up costing lives, is that they give NSAIDs or aspirin to people during these different phases. And that's actually not what you want to do, because what that ends up causing inadvertently is an increased rate of internal bleeding because it thins the blood out and inhibits the body's ability to clot. Oral rehydration and supportive therapy is really what you want to go towards in the event of a grid down, okay? Now, all of my operating assumptions here are, of course, that you're not going to have access in the event of a long-term grid down to skilled medical care, to a facility, to a hospital, something like that. So essentially you end up being forced to try and care for people at home as best as possible. Supportive herbs to help the body maintain its health, of course, are chamomile, yarrow, burdock, and dandelion. These are different herbs to not only cleanse the blood, but to also, certainly in the case of yarrow and in chamomile, to support diaphoresis, which is sweating, help the body's circulation to even out, and hopefully help the body to support its defense against the virus, okay? Now, I can sit here and talk till I'm blue in the face. about these different diseases. But here's just a little like straight word of wisdom right there to you, hopefully. People will spend so much money in preparedness on guns and stockpiles of weapons and ammunition. Forget the fact that $500, $600 for a class. No, that's too much. That's too much for them. Like, forget the fact that they don't know how to use any of these weapons effectively. And they'll sit there and tell you all day long that they do. Like, yeah, I go out to the range. Like, yeah, you and your shooting bench. Okay, like, what's your mile time? Like, when's the last time you threw a rifle on and ran up a hill and then pro'd out and tried to shoot at 200, 300, 400 yards? Like, they can't tell you that, but oh, they're ready, right? So if we think this is the case with weapons, okay, magnify that when it comes to health. People will spend so much money on medical supplies and they will not invest the time, energy, and money to take care of themselves and to eat well, okay? And I get that this is not the easiest of things for people. I get that many, many times we are governed by our stomachs, okay? But as best as possible, you've got to try and invest in your health now and take care of yourself, okay? Because the efforts that you put in ahead of time towards strengthening your body and removing toxicity and eating healthy, that's going to enable your body to weather the storms of these different, God forbid, epidemics and plagues that could be going around in the event of the grid going down, okay? And now, how much more so do we need to pay attention to this because of this entire debacle that is Obamacare, okay? Like, I don't care, like, what your libtard friend told you. The government getting involved and mandating something only produces subpar results on a wider level. That's all that it does. So, especially in the case of having a broken infrastructure and a scattered ability to have quality medical care, you're going to have to be able to take care of people at home, okay? And paying attention and keeping your family healthy ahead of time is going to allow them to surmount these diseases better. A stronger body, a healthier body adapts and overcomes disease better than a sickly and malnourished one. So definitely pay attention to that, okay? I have a couple of supplements that I'm big on. I really like Tangy Tangerine and I really like Green Vibrance. I'll put those in the description box below. If you are not on a whole food supplement or you're not paying attention to your nutrient deficits, you need to do that, okay? So check those out. Maybe it's not right for you, but at least you can check it out and see, okay? And definitely, if you like today's video, come and take a class from me, Medical Prep 101, 201. Now we have 301 where we cover nutrition, herbs, and old school disease. That was an awesome class. The inaugural one was this past week. Had some wonderful students that flew all the way from clear across the country to come be there, so that was awesome. But you guys, these nasty diseases, these diseases that have become something of a memory of yesteryear can, and I think will, very easily come back in the event of a long-term grid down, secondary to any number of things. It could be breakdown of rule of law. It could be your little lefty libtard friends decide that they want to torch places and set fire to stuff and blockade roads and major thoroughfares, going into hospitals to keep people needing life-saving treatments away because they have some bone to pick, some issue to protest. But we need to be able to take care of people at home. We have to be able to do that. Like, it is your responsibility. We have gotten so used to delegating this away to people, you know, who aren't our family members. And I'm not saying not to seek medical treatment when you need it, but folks, like, we're going to have to resurrect these skills of old if we're going to be able to take care of our family in difficult times. I hope it was helpful for y'all. If you did enjoy the video, please subscribe to me, Patriot Nurse, and also like me on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter and come out to a class. I'd love to see you there. Hope it was helpful for y'all. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.